In a quiet little town surrounded by trees and flowers lived a cat named Misty. Misty had lived with her elderly owner, Mrs. Wilson, for over 7 years. She was calm, graceful, and very proud. Misty liked her life quiet and predictable. She didn't like surprises. She didn't like loud noises. And most of all, she didn't like dogs. Next door, in the blue house with a messy garden, lived Max, a golden retriever puppy who had just moved in with a young couple. Max was the exact opposite of Misty. He was loud, clumsy, and endlessly curious. He barked at everything: the postman, the squirrels, the wind, even his own tail. From the moment Max saw Misty through the fence, he wanted to be friends. He barked happily, wagged his tail like a maniac, and tried to squeeze his nose under the fence to say hello. But Misty? She was not impressed. Every time Max barked at her, she hissed. Every time he jumped with joy, she climbed the fence to get away. Max didn't understand why she didn't like him, but he never gave up. Every morning, he waited by the fence, hoping Misty would change her mind. Weeks passed. One evening, the sky turned gray. Dark clouds gathered quickly, and a storm rolled in with heavy rain and thunder. Mrs. Wilson was out shopping, and Misty was inside, warm and dry. But suddenly, she heard a loud bark, a desperate one. She jumped up onto the window and looked outside. Max was in the yard, completely soaked, shivering from the cold. The wind had blown his doghouse door shut, and he couldn't get back inside. His owners were still not home. Misty froze. She didn't like Max, but he looked scared. And something in her chest felt tight. She meowed, once, twice, then louder. Mrs. Wilson returned just in time. Misty ran to the door, meowing until it was opened. Then, without thinking, she ran outside and stood near Max. She didn't touch him, but her presence was enough to comfort him. Mrs. Wilson saw them both, surprised, and quickly opened the neighbor's gate. She brought Max into her house, dried him with a towel, and gave him a blanket. Misty sat nearby, watching quietly. That night, Max curled up in a corner of the living room. Misty jumped onto the sofa and looked at him. She didn't hiss. Max didn't bark. They just stared at each other, in peace. The next morning, the sun was out again. Max's owners came and thanked Mrs. Wilson. Before he left, Max turned to Misty and wagged his tail gently. Misty gave a slow blink, the cat version of a smile. From that day on, things started to change. Max became calmer. He stopped barking when Misty was near. Instead, he wagged his tail and lay down quietly. Misty began sitting closer. They shared the garden, then the porch. Finally, they even napped under the same tree. They still had their differences. Max was silly, and Misty was serious. Max chased butterflies, and Misty chased shadows. But they learned to enjoy each other's company. Sometimes, Max would bring Misty a flower he found. Sometimes, Misty would share a sunny spot with Max, even if just for 5 minutes. And that's how a grumpy old cat and an energetic young dog became the unlikeliest best friends. Because sometimes friendship begins not with similarity, but with one moment of kindness. Ending line. Spoken cheerfully. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories.